So for step 15, the rear uprights. Well, we've got to put these together. So we've got the uprights coming off of parts tree A, we've got bearings, we've got snap pins, and then of course the drive shafts. Now it shows greasing it up, but because I'm using the ball bearings, I will not be doing that. So here are the pieces we need. We've got the bearings there, the ball joints, etc. And there are the pieces. So I'll set this up and let's put it together. So I think what we'll do is we'll work on this side first, and you can see that this is the piece that we need, just based on the way this is all shaped. So I think we're going to put the ball joint in first, or the ball connector. That's going to go into the top part. So let's get that in. And I always like to check just to make sure it's got to move down just a touch. Yeah, so now we're going in level. So we'll just continue to screw that in. Because this is a hard plastic, you're going to know you're at the end because it won't be able to turn anymore. I'm just going to give it one last little... Nope, we're good to go. So that ball connector is in place. So now we've got our ball bearings. So I'm going to pop one into here, just like that. And we're going to pop the other one down there, just like that. And we're going to grab one of our drive cups, slide that through, and it's showing that they want you to use a snap pin, which I guess makes sense because they're just trying to make sure that this isn't going to pop out. These won't stay there. I'm sure we'll be removing them at a later date. But that's it. That is one of our uprights complete. So we're going to do the same thing with the other side. So if we grab our cup, you can see the way that hub is. We've got to grab our ball connector. It's going to go on the top. And what I normally do, which I didn't mention on the first one, is I put it into this first, gives you something to actually hold, and it gives you a way of kind of monitoring how this is going in to make sure that it's going in relatively level, which this seems to be, yes. So I can turn this into place now. And we're at the end, so that is it. So again, we're going to pop in our bearings. That one was a little tougher to fit. And that one just slid right in. And we'll grab our drive cup, slide that in, grab the pin, and put it through. And there we go. So there are our two rear uprights ready to go. So step 15 is complete. So we're going to move on to step 16 and we're going to attach the rear uprights. So for step 16, attaching the rear uprights. Well, this is where we're going to grab our uprights from the previous step. We're going to put in the dog bones. There's an O-ring that has to go in. And of course you can see we got to grease all of this up. And there's some pieces from A and L that you need to put onto this as well. And of course, there are all the screws. Now, one interesting thing, you'll see L4. Well, even though I'd looked at this earlier, I was having a job trying to find L4. And the reason being is because I kept looking at this parts tree, which shows it is parts tree F. Well, F also has this, which has L, which means that F and L are on the same parts tree. I saw that earlier when I was opening the box and then completely forgot. So I kept looking at this and couldn't understand where the L parts tree was. Well, it's on the same tree. So that's all solved, but just note, if you run into a problem and you can't find it, it may be on parts tree F. Anyways, I'll set this up and let's put this together. So let's work on this side first. So if we grab one of our drive cups, we know that we need to grease this up, so we'll do just that. And we also need to put an O-ring in there. Now they're telling you that they want you to grease that up as well. So I'm just going to grease that up with my finger here. There we go. And we'll stick that down there. Make sure that's right. And of course you can use the dog bone to get it in place. Well, maybe not. It wants to move around. Well, let's just wait a second because we need to grease this dog bone up anyway, so I guess in the end it doesn't matter. And the other side. So now if we grab that cup, I'm just going to make sure that that sits down there, which it is doing. So just going to wipe off my hands here. If we grab the chassis, you can see that the way that was to go in, and I'm just going to move these wires out of the way a bit here. We need to fit this inside of here. Just like that. And that's in place. So just gonna again wipe my hands off. I've got a fair bit of grease on me. Now we're gonna grab the upright, and you can see that that's got to go into there. We greased that up already on the other side, so I can slide that on, and then this is going to fit into the bottom part. This is going to fit over top on the top part, just like that. Now for this to work, they're showing that you need this A3 piece, which is going to sit on top of that before you screw in the MA3. And the MA3 is the darker tapping screw. So we're going to put that one in place, and I will start screwing that down. And that just gives me something to hold at the moment. From the bottom, they want you to use that L4 piece, and of course one of the MA2 screws. So that's going to basically go into that part. And if we just turn this over a bit so you can see, we're going to stick that right there, and we're going to screw that down. Now I'm just going to hold it this way for now because I think this will be the easiest way to do it. And we'll just screw this in so that we get it to the end. Just got to make sure you're holding the pieces together. There we go. And this one now can be screwed in all the way as well. Now these wires, I'm just going to move out of the way. And there we go. So there is one of the rear uprights in place. Wires are kind of in the way from the motor at the moment, but that's okay. So that side is done. So now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Now I think what I'm going to do is let's just grease up our O-ring. And again, going to get kind of messy here, but that's okay. There we go. Stick that in there for now. I'm not too worried about how that's sitting. And we're going to grease this up. And we're going to slide that into the gearbox, into the differential. There we go. And we're going to grab our dog bone and we're going to grease that up. And we can grease up the other side as well. Personal preference, how much you put onto this. I mean, I want to get everything covered, but I don't necessarily want it completely messed up, but it's good enough, I think. Got a fair bit on there, really. So then, if we grab our other upright, I can actually slide this upright into there, and we'll slide that upright into there, and then put that piece into the hole, and then we're going to put that top piece into the hole as well. Now, just going to clean off my hands once again, and you can see that from the top we need this one piece and the MA3, which is the darker tapping screw. That's going to go in from the top. And I'm just going to start it just so that it's got something to hold. And then on the bottom, we have that L4 piece and the longer MA2 up through the back of that. And we're going to put that right there. And I know that's not level, but I want to get the screwdriver in place. I got to use my thumb to make sure that the upright itself doesn't move. And we can screw this in. There we go. And then on this side, same idea. And I'm going to use my finger to kind of stop the thing from, because you can see it wants to turn every time you want to use the screwdriver. So I'm using my finger to push it back down. And there we go. So there is our rear end and the uprights in place, and so that is finished. So step 16 is complete. So now we're going to move on to step 17 and attach the rear bumper.